Hi everyone, I'm Aidan Michaels. I'm joined this afternoon by one of the best college soccer players I've ever seen, Wisconsin basketball legend, newest member of the Orlando Pride of the NWSL, Aryssa Mahrt. Aryssa, welcome. How's it going?
Hi, thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining me today. So I want to start off by going down memory lane a little bit, starting off when you were in San Diego for your college career, and then in 2022 making your move to Wisconsin. What was that process like returning to the state of Wisconsin?
It was kind of a little full circle moment for sure. I think Wisconsin has always been somewhere I come back to. We've like moved around a lot, so I always end up back in Wisconsin. So it really wasn't a surprise, but I think there was just a lot of familiarity for me coming back to Wisconsin. I knew Paula, I knew the coaches, I knew like Emma J, Rachel, like a bunch of the players in the team. So when I entered the portal, it was kind of natural for me to be like, I trust these people, like I know the culture. So I think it was a great decision that I made, but yeah.
And how does that work when you enter the transfer portal? And do coaches just come after you? Did you reach out to anyone? I don't know if that's allowed. I know with all the rules and all that, but
Yeah.
what was that process?
My experience was I kind of got thrown in. It was at the end of the fall, so we just finished our season at San Diego, and then went into the portal, and coaches kind of reach out to you. You can like reach out to coaches. I'm not really sure how you do that, so I didn't because I didn't know how to. But then yeah, you kind of get connected with them through that. But the issue for me was there's like a gap where you can connect with coaches. So there's a couple weeks that we had um before like it closes for the winter, like whatever the break is. So I kind of had a time crunch there. So I was talking to like three or four schools and time was kind of coming down and I just was like naturally Wisconsin. And so kind of got pushed that direction, but I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, seems like a great decision. And I know you said you moved around a lot and you've played in many different countries as well. But what was it like to leave such a warm place like San Diego and then come back to Wisconsin where it's freezing?
Yeah, that was the heartbreaking part. I think I love San Diego. It's like my favorite city in the world. The school was great, campus was great. I think soccer wise, I just was looking for something a little bit different. So I kind of had to make that decision then and there on how important soccer was and like was I willing to leave San Diego for it? And it seems like it was worth it. So I'm glad I got to live there and experience for a bit though.
Sure. And
Yeah.
then back in Wisconsin, obviously, as they say in the soccer world, you burst on the scene when playing for the Badgers. So what was it like? I know you said you knew Emma and a couple of the girls, and obviously Paula, but getting used to a new system of play, and how were you able to adjust so quickly? Because you did, really, it seems like adjusted pretty.
Yeah. I honestly was fortunate enough to come in during the spring before, the season started. So I got that first semester to kind of get used to everything. And it was a completely different, I don't want to say level, but just a different pace, I think, than what I was used to at San Diego. So I kind of came in, I was not sure where I was going to stand, like, was just going to go with it, ready to take it how it came. But um, yeah, I came in and it was just great. I love the competition. I love the culture. So I think I fit in pretty well. Okay. Tried my best, but it helped like knowing a lot of people and knowing the coaches and like being comfortable. So that made the transition a lot easier. And then by the time fall season came around, like I've been there for 8, 9 months. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at the numbers, you put up almost a point per game with Wisconsin, 57 points in 62 games, including double-digit goals this past season, your career high. So I wanted to ask, Coach Paula told me last season how you could now be spotlighted after Emma J's departure. Did you find it difficult or any different to take on that new role? Did you feel like there was a new role? Did you feel that you were now being spotlighted?
Um, I think there was a lot, not of ex there's a lot of external pressure, not pressure, but just like who's gonna fill Emma J's role, which obviously she played a huge role. And so I think for me, I like internally was like, oh, it's fine. Like not much is like we're just gonna do what we do. Like I'm just gonna keep playing and like see what happens. But I think there was some external like conversations and like I would kind of hear about it here and there. and I've had like meetings with the coaches too about like I was like I am not MJ. Like like I we are different players, different people, like love her. But it's like I am not you can't look at me to fill her role and like be her. Um so like we had an understanding there. Like everyone knew that. So I think on the team and with me and the coaches, we all kind of knew that that wasn't it. But there was always like talks about it. So I never really felt super pressured by it. Obviously, it's a great role to be like pushed into, like, but I didn't really see much of a change with how I played. So I don't know if that really answered the question.
Oh yeah, of course, no problem. Uh, and did you have you scored some not only great looking goals, but some very important goals in your career. Did you have a favorite goal that you scored?
This is so hard. I like
A lot of them, so yeah.
not like that. I like forget. I'm so bad about remembering games and goals. I
Not to put
think
you on the spot here, sorry.
I know. This is good. I need to reflect on this. I think one of my favorite was probably, I would say the main, the first goal, like yeah, my goal in Maine. Just because my like grandpa passed away that day, like that morning, so I wasn't even sure if I was gonna play in that game, like, but I did, and I kind of felt like that was just a sign, like a little like so. It was more of like a memorable goal, not like the prettiest or like best,
Sure.
but yeah, had meaning.
No, that is very meaningful. That's amazing. That's a good story. And does that differ from your favorite moment in your Wisconsin career?
Yeah, I think my favorite moment. Oh, there's so many good ones. I think probably when oh my God, there's like I feel like there's one every year. So I feel like the one I can remember most recently is like beating Virginia in PKs. I think PKs are just so stressful, so it's like you feel every single emotion and like everyone's kind of there with you. So I think like the relief that comes after that is like a high, but um I think that was a game we weren't supposed to win. So I think coming through with that, I think the team just felt like very close knit after that moment.
When it comes to PKs, I mean, whether you're taking one in a
Sure.
game or just in a penalty shootout, what's going through your head? Do you try and think about it? Do you know where you're going right away? Not to spill any of your secrets here.
Yeah,
You've
no, I
taken
have no secrets. I this was the first year that I've ever missed a PK, and I think I missed two in this season. So that was like I almost was like take me away from the PK spot. Like I don't want to see it. I don't want to like deal with it. But I kept getting thrown back out there, so I really had to just like face my fears on that. But I really don't have a game plan. I know you're supposed to. I know you're supposed to read the goalie. I've tried training it. Paula's tried working on like it with me, but I just kind of go up there, I pick a spot and go for it. Um, Clearly that didn't work this year, so maybe I should change that. But um, yeah, no, I have no game plan, and it's like it's not like I go to the same side every time either. So it's kind of like the goalie's gonna pick a side, I'm gonna pick a side, and we're gonna find out.
Just hit it and hope.
Yeah, honestly, that's bad.
Yeah, maybe if you're a young
Cut
soccer
that one.
player, don't take that advice. But so I want to move on. Obviously, you touched on earlier how you've played in many different countries. You've lived in Singapore. You've played it to 7 different countries. Very well traveled,
Yeah,
obviously. Tell me about all
yeah.
those experiences.
I mean, it was amazing. I was fortunate enough to like, we moved around a lot when we were younger, obviously, and I think soccer played a huge role in my childhood just because it was kind of a constant. Um, but in the moment, like when I'm 10 years old, I'm not recognizing how cool it was. Like, but like looking back, I'm like, that was such a great experience, and I think it plays a huge part in who I am now and like my relationship with soccer. Um, but you just kind of see how big the sport is and like how much more it is than just a sport. Like the culture around it, the way like people interact with it, how it changes from like country to country. And I think that's just like a beautiful thing that is often overlooked. Um, so I think that's kind of why I stuck with it so hard is because we moved. I like didn't not that I didn't have the opportunity to like try other sports, but it was like it was easier to pick a sport that I could play anywhere. So soccer gave me that outlet.
That's awesome. That's
So,
amazing. Yeah, I mean, to play in that many countries and to move around like that must have been incredible. And like you said, you don't really notice it when you're there, but when
yeah.
up you really. But so looking over to the professional side of things, when was it that you realized one, you're good enough to go pro, but two, like I actually want to do this after college?
Yeah. This has been like a back and forth battle in my head, I think, for the last like 6 years. But because even in high school, I didn't want to play in college. Like my freshman year, it's not that I didn't want to, it was more of like it just wasn't what I was like striving for. Um, so I kind of had a coach push me towards the college direction, and I went with that. And then once I got to college, obviously the questions of like wanting to play after were starting to come up. And I think I kind of like leaned more towards it at San Diego when I decided to like transfer. Because if I didn't, and if I just wanted to play in college, I would have been totally content just hanging out in San Diego for 4 years.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that was a defining moment for me where I was like, if you're serious about this and if you actually want to do this, then like you need to take the steps to do it. Um, which meant leaving San Diego. But Madison's beautiful too.
Exactly, it is.
Um, but yeah, and then obviously the last 2 years was when it was a more serious conversation. My issue is when it comes to soccer, I just want to play soccer and I don't like the logistics of it. I don't want to talk about like contracts and agents and like I have zero idea what I'm talking about when it comes to that stuff. And it's like I only play to like play. So when those conversations started to happen, like I was so checked out and that was so bad. But it helps having coaches and like people who like I talked to Emma J a lot and like Aaron McKinney and like people who have done the same things because they were kind of able to like lead me down the right path. And yeah, somehow I got here. And looking back, I don't really know how, but it worked out.
I was gonna say you're here now, and I should say congratulations on the contract. That's amazing,
Thank you.
fantastic news. And it must have been a pretty unique experience as well because it's the first year without the NWSL draft. Very different for American sports. We're all used to the draft and everything.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the decision in general to get rid of the draft? But also, how was your experience, giving you have that agency to sort of choose what team in a sense?
Yeah. I think for players, it's a great step. I think from whatever, obviously I didn't go through the draft, so like I'm not really sure how that experience went, but from the players I've talked to here now who did, um, it just gives the athletes more of a role in where they go and like what they do. And I think that's great because a lot of it is already up in the air, like what teams are talking to you, like how long your contracts are, like what's going to happen. So I think it gives you a little bit more say and a little bit more stability in your life when it comes to professional sports. For me, because I don't like the logistics and the conversations and having to choose all that, I kind of wanted the draft just so it was like someone say something, pick something. Like if it
Right.
happens, it happens. But I think in the long run, I'm gonna appreciate having more of a say and like, yeah. But I was at the point of life where I was like, whatever happens, I'm here
Right.
for. Yeah.
It makes sense. And how does your everyday look like now as far as training and all that stuff?
Yeah, honestly, it's great. I can't complain about it. But we get up, we train. We basically are at the facility from it's like 8 a.m. to 1 or 2, depending on how much we're doing in a day. And then something that's so different about professional sports or just soccer, I guess I don't really know the other ones, but it's like your full-time job, but a lot of it is like what do you do after like you come home at 2 o'clock and like it's not a 9 to 5 and it's just this emphasis on recovery and like that's your role and kind of your responsibility, especially like fitness and stuff too. College was like come in, we're gonna run fitness together, this and that, but it's like it's your job to come in fit, it's your job to come in like recovered and like in your best performance shape. Like so that was a little bit of a like it's on you, like as it should be. Um, but I think that was interesting. But yeah, we just go in, treatment, training, meetings, a lot of scout and video. Right now in preseason, we're working on just like our loading and like we have some preseason matches like I think it's like once every week. So I think this weekend I don't even know who we're playing this weekend, but um it's just kind of moving around and seeing what combinations of people work best, what's gonna work this season. And like I got moved to left back, so that's been a whole new
Whoa.
experience. Yeah, so I am on a learning curve right now, but
Have you ever played left back?
I've never been a defender in my life.
How do you feel about that? You adjusting well? I mean,
I mean, yeah, I think I'm just so happy to be on the field and like to be playing that I will take any role that I can get. Trying to be as open-minded as possible. I honestly have started to like it. So, little switch up. Not really. I'll like every once in a while I'll like wander and find myself in the other box and I'm like I'm not supposed to be there. So, it's been a like it's definitely been an adjustment, but learning a lot and just like staying open-minded and you're surrounded by amazing players. So it's like if you just do your job, it'll work out. Yeah.
yeah, I was just thinking, like, if it depends on, I guess, the formation that you guys were playing, but playing left back, if you get caught, staying up too
Yeah.
far and they're not tracking back, then you could be in some trouble. But that seems like a fun position, honestly. I mean,
Yeah, they've given me a lot of grace. Like they know I'm an attacker, so they know like I'll wander. So they've tried to help out there.
fair enough.
Yeah.
And last question here. How would you compare the training on the pitch compared to college? Was it a big jump for you? Is it a lot more intense, or what do you think?
I think yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. The pace is just on a whole different level. So honestly, it took me like a week and a half, 2 weeks to like even catch up. Like things are moving so fast. Like everyone is so it's harder to like hide, if that makes sense. Like the gap between the best player and like their quote unquote worst player, like is like so slim that it's like there's really not much room to get lost in. Whereas in college, it's like if you have a bad day, like you can just get through practice and like get through it, whatever. But here it's a very like you have to lock in, find a way to pull through it, like which it is a good adjustment. I think it's been yeah, we've sort of figured it out. We've I'm here with like two or three other girls who are new and like we've had these conversations a lot about just like the transition. But I think Wisconsin has prepared me so well because even there, like you can't really hide. But um it's definitely different in a good way.
Yeah, I was saying my biggest strategy when I was playing in high school was just don't be first in line on the training drills. Just
Exactly.
let a couple people do it before you, and then
No
you'll
spotlight on you and you're good.
exactly. It's the
Yeah.
worst thing when you're not really paying attention and you look and you're like, okay, now you're first. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tough. Well, that's all I have, Aryssa. So thank you very much for joining me today, and
Yeah.
obviously wish you the best in Orlando.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So you can
Yeah.
catch the Pride in the Challenge Cup final on March 7th and then the regular season opener on March 14th. Thanks to everyone for watching. I'm Aidan Michaels, and this was Aryssa Mahrt.